The Howe family goes through a second tragedy in less than 10 years. In the mid-1800s, a young boy is paddling with his family servant along Australia's eastern coastline in ankle-deep water when he is grabbed by a shark with little thought for his own safety. The boy's servant then dives into the water after him, but will he be able to save the young boy's life? In this video, we will talk about the brutal shark attack on the son of a wealthy family. On Wednesday, January 17, 1837, a young boy named Alfred Howe was visiting a beach on Australia's east coast. Trial Bay, which is roughly halfway between Brisbane and Sydney, was the location of the beach. Trial Bay is now a popular tourist destination due to its turquoise-sheltered waters, which provide excellent swimming and gentle swells for beginner surfers. The mouth of the river is a popular fishing spot. This is the terrifying shark attack that happened to Alfred Howe. When Alfred was only 4 years old, he and his father had been on a boat in Sydney Harbor for unknown reasons when the boat capsized while the pair was trying to board another vessel. Alfred's father, George Howe, had swum after Alfred and managed to push him towards the safety of the nearby craft, although he heroically saved his son. This incident also involved Australian waters. Alfred was not deterred from the water despite living so close to the island. His childhood was full of seaside visits and splashing in the warm waters of the Australian coast. On this particular day, he walked along the beach talking to the family servant. George Howe, the owner of the Sydney Gazette newspaper, had tragically drowned that day. He left behind his wife and their 3 children, including the young Alfred, and waded into the clear water of the fresh current to wash the sand off of his feet. But, unbeknownst to him, an underwater predator was watching him the entire time. He made a few splashes and moved his feet ever so slightly. Alfred looked down at them and watched as the sand washed away. Suddenly, in an instant, something erupted from the water. In an ankle-deep river, the water moved slowly over his toes in a gentle manner. The large shark grabbed Alfred by the legs, and as it pulled his feet out from under him, it thrashed its head from side to side. Alfred was dragged through the water. Alfred stumbled backwards and yelled out in alarm as the shark dragged him into the river and then out towards the open ocean. The shark was carrying Alfred out to sea. As he struggled to keep his head above water, Alfred had trouble breathing. He was struggling to keep his head above water. The predatory shark had incredible speed for something of its size. Unimaginable force must have been exerted by its jaws. Thankfully, Alfred's servant, whose name was not provided by the newspaper, sprang into action without any thought for his own safety and jumped into the river just as the shark was about to devour Alfred's legs. Alfred had fought with all of his might to free his legs from the powerful grip that the shark had on them, but ultimately he was unsuccessful. As he pursued the shark through the shallows, he ran through them, yelling at Alfred the whole time. The servant dove for the young boy just as the shark was about to release Alfred into the water with it still holding him. He was able to grab Alfred's hands and pulled relentlessly, refusing to let go, even as the boy screamed and the shark flailed around. Thankfully, the shark was able to readjust its hold on the boy, and during that time, it momentarily released him, and that was all that happened. They fashioned makeshift tourniquets out of pieces of clothing, which they then wrapped tightly around Alfred's legs in an effort to put an end to the bleeding by squeezing his legs together. Witnesses claimed that this action had the desired effect, as the amount of blood that was gushing out of Alfred's gaping wounds was significantly reduced. A significant portion of the calf's flesh had been eaten by one of Alfred's legs, and he had to replace it. Following the completion of his suturing and examination, the surgeon gave the order for Alfred to be transported to a hospital in the town of Port Macquarie, which is located to the south of Trial Bay. There, he was prepared for the amputation of one of his legs. However, just 3 days after the attack, Alfred passed away from tetanus before they could operate on the Clostridium tetani bacteria in his body. This prevented them from being able to amputate one of his legs. It is not known what state Alfred was in when he arrived at the hospital. His condition cannot be determined. Because his nervous system was under attack, he was forced to enter a state of shutdown. However, the symptoms of the disease can be managed, and people can get vaccinated against it. To this day, there is no known cure for the disease. However, people can get vaccinated against it. Alfred Howe's injuries were severe enough that he probably would not have survived them if modern medicine had been around at the time they occurred. As soon as victims of shark attacks arrive at hospitals, they are typically given tetanus vaccinations, presuming that the victim survived the initial attack. This is because tetanus is a potentially fatal infection. Aftercare is of the utmost importance in order to increase the likelihood of the victim's survival. This includes the administration of antibiotics to the victim in order to prevent infections. The marine environment is home to a wide variety of pathogenic bacteria, such as the case when Vibrio bacteria from the mouth of a shark is ingested by a person and spreads through their bloodstream. If a Vibrio infection is allowed to go untreated for 24 hours during an attack, the fatality rate can rise to 30%. If it is allowed to go untreated for 72 hours, the fatality rate can rise to 100%. And if it is allowed to go untreated for a full week, the fatality rate can rise to 100%. It would be more than 120 years before there would be another recorded instance of a shark attack in Trial Bay. Unfortunately, Alfred Howe did not have such luck. In the year 1961, the incident that led to the shark attack was caused by two spear fishermen who injured the Wobbegong shark measuring 1.4 meters in length. The shark then turned around and bit the men on the legs and ankles. The chances of surviving an attack by an animal have, thankfully, increased due to advances in medical technology. The assault did not result in the victim's death in the end. Another unprovoked assault that was reported to have taken place in Trial Bay in 1966 was said to have occurred a few years later. This time, it happened while Stefan was spearfishing in deep water, and he was lusting after a gray nurse shark named Spirit. Spirit bit Stefan in self-defense, but Stefan's companions were able to defend themselves against the attack of the shark, and Stefan was able to survive the ordeal. After some time, his friends ended up killing the shark. The attack on Alfred occurred for no apparent reason, but there has been a significant amount of education surrounding sharks since the 1800s, and as a result, it is possible that the attack could have been avoided. In more recent times, it was found out that these animals play an important role in the ecosystems of the ocean, and that they ought to be respected because of this. One of these species was responsible for the attack on the human. Alfred appeared to be unaware of the risks involved in venturing into the shallow waters at dusk, and he had found himself in the incorrect location at the incorrect time. In the year 2022, there were a total of 12 unprovoked shark attacks in the waters of Australia, of which 3 resulted in fatalities. If you are concerned about getting bit by a shark, it is in your best interest to educate yourself about the species and its habits. If you are concerned about getting bit by a shark, it is in your best interest to educate yourself about the species and its habits. Understanding the risks associated with sharks and how they behave can go a long way toward preventing shark attacks. The Howe family has gone through unimaginable suffering ever since the mother of the family lost her husband 10 years ago. After the tragic passing of her young son, Miss Howe was responsible for the upbringing of her 2 daughters all by herself. However, whenever we enter the water in shark territory, we should always be aware that we might meet our ultimate affliction. Since that time, there has been a significant amount of development in shark safety technology. That's it for today. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to share and press the bell icon for more regular updates.